Greta Marie's diary, 364th of the year 2377. I almost got caught by those two idiots again. Why they stay up so late and wander around is beyond me. Maybe it really is just to annoy everyone here. Thankfully, they're dumb enough that tricking them isn't that difficult. I've managed to make it back to the third garden, but I'll have to leave soon if I want to make it back before morning. I'm sure that at some point my lack of sleep will catch up to me, but I needed to restock and bring what I'd previously gathered here. Also, I think that some squirrels might have gotten in. Several of my plants have been nibbled on, and so have three of my books. I'll have to reinforce the door when I go. No messages have arrived for me since last week. I hope everything is okay back home. I'm going to just assume that it's been too busy. I can't get distracted thinking about horrible scenarios. I was in the apple greenhouse when the sirs arrived. I've been trying to understand why the apple trees specifically struggle to grow, even after such a long time away from the rot. I mean, there's barely any signs of it left on them now. The cleansing methods developed here have worked to an excellent degree. From Master Will Olive's diaries, I read on his experiments on the apple trees, and he turned up the same questions I am having. It seems like several of his father's scientist friends nearly overexhausted the love-knot vine, which would have been catastrophic. Once Will took over, he limited and saved the love-knot. Because of him, it is now nearly impossible for me to go and poke around in its specific greenhouse now. Of course, he was in the right, and if he hadn't been so cautious, perhaps most of us here would have been long gone. It still frustrates me, however, and any time I think I found a way to access the vine, I hit another dead end. The apples on the trees themselves are gorgeous. A nearly perfect color, very big. I need to use both hands to hold one, and when prepared for food, they're exquisite. Whenever the Countess has them, I allow myself a small slice. I mean, they're big enough for her to not notice. The problem is, on each of the 4 trees, only about 20 to 30 grow. According to the records of the Illyrian farms from 100 years ago, one tree on the moon grew from 200 to 500 apples. If Will's research is correct, rotten trees also grew the same amount, but of course those apples were completely inedible. It is something of a miracle that even this amount has been saved and returned to their original healthy state. I've tried to draw up what the current state of the trees looks like, despite my poor artistic skills. It is not dissimilar to a patient in a hospital bed. Through hollow wires, elixir from the love-knot vine is fed into the roots of the trees and also directly into the trunk. The specific amount for the apple trees came about through research and experimentation. For now, what it does and has been doing is repel the rot, returning the trees to something close to their original state, but clearly in a far limited way given the crop. Also, I should note that it is really only the produce itself which has become as it was before the rot. The trees' trunks and leaves are all pale, as though a permanent color-sucking filter had been pressed upon them. If anything, it makes the golden apple stand out even better against the rest of it all. I was cutting off some of the leaves to bring here when I heard the footsteps of people coming in. Thank goodness for the heeled shoes everyone rich here wears. At least they can never arrive into a room unnoticed. I just about managed to hide what I'd taken into one of the many pockets on my work gown when Sir Tobias and Sir Andrea spotted me. Probably because of how dull life here on the moon can be, they appear to have taken an interest in what I do and who I am. It's very vexing. They quizzed me on what I had been doing. I told them that because the gardener is in his elder years, I have agreed to help after my own duties. Accused me of meeting a secret beau. I said I've no time for such nonsense, and wondered whether the Countess had been planning on having any outings with them. I did my best to continue to be as vague as I could. I have known Lilian for 5 years now, and have gone from despising her due to her wealth and vain nature to considering her a dear friend and someone I want to protect. I have seen what I do not think anyone else here has, not even necessarily because she hides her emotions. I mean, she certainly does not do that. It is simply that her feelings disturb what people expect her to do, especially her tedious uncle and his even more frustrating friend. It has only been half a year since Master Will died, and yet this time has stretched on because no one will give Lillian a clear answer on what her fate is to be. She has done her best to stall the inevitable, to find some way to ignore the unfair rules of what should legally belong to her. I want to help her. Well, I suppose even I am not innocent of using her for my own needs, but I do not think that she will be opposed to what I ask of her. I simply will need to find the right moment and have the right amount of evidence before I can tell her the truth. And I do think that I am getting close. Her brother's diaries are the key to this. Back to Tobias and his shadow. I informed them that Lillian has not been feeling good enough for any outings, especially because of the hassle of arranging the carriages and suits and all. Lillian hates the suits you need to wear to survive outside of Keaton Estate, specifically because she cannot fit her extravagant dresses into them. She also fears going outside, which is fair enough. Every time I sneak away and come back in, I am taking a big risk. I do think that since her brother's death, Lillian has become somewhat too frozen in here, however. The last time she left Keaton to see even a little bit of Illyria was some weeks before Will passed. It was them, me, and two other attendants. We took a carriage up to one of the hills just outside of town and had a picnic on one of the clear tents that had arrived from Arinon only a year ago. Of course, even then it was clear to me that something was wrong with Will, although I may have been the only one to realize this. I need to update my parts, but getting access to anything is very difficult. The attachments at my elbow are getting very loose now, and I've been wrapping it to keep it better in place. Also, my eye keeps glitching at times. Because of this, I accidentally made a big tear into one of Lillian's gowns while I was trying to fix it. I am sure that if I asked, she would give me leave to go see my family, but I am so close now. I need to try to hang on for a bit longer. Then I can go and get all fixed up. Even writing all of this now, I worry whether it will stay in my memory files. I swear I had recorded something 3 days ago, but when I tried to look for it, I couldn't find it anywhere. Or maybe I simply am getting too tired. It's hard to differentiate between my human parts malfunctioning and my cybernetic ones doing so. After trying to get me to convince Lillian into going out with them, I promised nothing. The two nobles still wouldn't leave me be. I suppose it was a good thing then that Malbot arrived out of nowhere. The robot has been here for over 10 years, and I still get shocked when it arrives. Something in its build is undetected by my eyes, probably because it is such old technology. It started herding us out of the greenhouse, claiming that it has to be closed all night for the sake of plants. Perhaps the gardener had asked for this to be programmed in recently, as I did not realize this was a thing. I was going to listen and go out, as actually I did want to go to bed already, but Tobias and Andreas had other plans. They started taunting the robot, asking it questions its AI simply wasn't programmed to be prepared for. It also doesn't help that the robot is built to fit the aesthetic of the nobility here rather than to be practical. It rolls around with one wheel and is dressed in a butler's outfit, tailored from one meant for a human into fitting it. Its head shows no expression, only a sound bar for when it speaks. Apparently, it is programmed to take care of itself in terms of battery charge and maintenance, Lillian told me. I did ask the mechanic the Olive family employs the last time he was here whether he has ever had a look at the robot, but he told me that he'd been asked to deal with the house and vehicles and all that. Apparently, 10 years ago, Malbot was of the latest technology. I can't imagine that to be accurate at all anymore. Overall, the robot is rather pitiable. Always here and working, yet looked over. It was in thinking this way, while I patiently waited for the two idiots to let the robot be, that an idea popped into my head. The reason I have been feeling stalled in my progress is the hidden parts of Will Olive's research. Or, well, my hypothesis that he has hidden much of what he had been up to. While he did his best to be sneaky and I don't think that anyone else noticed, I did see him disappearing often and being tired in the mornings. Also, he used to be the sole person with access to the love knot. Now this person is Lilian, who refuses to go in and see the vine because of her grief. Perhaps I am making too much of a leap to assume that he had been using the robot as well. But I may not be. When Malbot finally got away, and also got us out of the greenhouse, I suggested a prank for the sirs to participate in. They had been joking about how human the language nature of the robot is at times, and so I wondered whether we could test how human the robot truly was. In fact, since everyone here was obsessed with it, what better way than to test it with love? Of course, I know that Sir Andreas is here to try and woo Lilian. Everyone does. I am also very aware that it isn't working, and actually I don't think that Sir Andreas himself is very passionate about all of this. If anything, he is always very mild when Lilian is in the same room as him. Well, regardless, we will put our prank to test Malbot's humanity into motion soon. Greta Marie's Diary, 6th of the year 2378. I've just gotten back from helping Lilian prepare for bed. It has been an eventful day for her, and I suppose for all of us. Keaton Estate does orbit around her ordeals. That young servant from the Duke's came back. Well, he was summoned by Lilian. He is very unique, I should say. It is very clear he isn't from here or even anywhere close to Arinon, although he avoids talking about where he is from, only disclosing information about who he is working for. I have actually done my best now to investigate the Tenay's Corporation further. Thank goodness for the still working computer in the western tower of the estate. While loading up information has been incredibly slow, I have gotten some. It was formed on the Triarchy, a union of 3 planets very far from here. The 3 planets are called Kiskes, Chaikses, and Loxes. There is a long history between the planets before their current state, constant war, alliances, and the occasional peace. Since founding the Triarchy, they have been in their longest state of no fighting. The Tenay's Corporation itself was founded by scientists and explorers, and they say that they're on a mission to improve all of the galaxy through peaceful missions. It sounds too idealistic to be true, in my opinion, but should even a part of it be so, I think that Kieran could be an important ally. Listening to him speak about his mission has been enlightening. It seems that most planets, at least the ones closer to the Triarchy, have been keeping contact with the Tenay's Corp and allowing or even asking for missions to those planets. Arinon has not been doing so, and indeed Kieran has found that the outpost on the main planet has been abandoned for some time. It hasn't been easy for him to get messages through to his original people, and I understand his fear and frustration better than anyone else here, I'd imagine. To be untethered from one's family and friends is frightening. It was upon hearing this that I actually spoke up and suggested that the Countess aid Kieran in gaining a connection. After all, Keaton Estate is of the latest technology in Illyria, and also in comparison to mainland Arinon. Thankfully Lilian does respect me and also is rather enraptured by young Kieran, so she agreed to help with no resistance. I do fear for her heart slightly, as for several reasons I do not see a future for her and this boy. First of all, he is working for the Duke who still insists on trying to marry Lilian. Obviously, as that is why Kieran is here in the first place. Given how much influence Kieran is gaining over Lilian, I don't think it will be long until he can convince her to allow the Duke to visit once more. Secondly, while it may be so that should she marry any man the estate should pass on to her and her husband, I doubt that her noble family, Sir Tobias, would accept a foreign servant to suddenly take over everything here. And thirdly, I can't shake the feeling that Kieran is acting up much of his praise for Lilian. Not all of it, I'd say. I have caught the more genuine glances shared in the middle of all their dramatic love speak. But there is a resistance in him, and he is not committing himself. Or allowing himself, I'd rather say. And I cannot blame him, for the reasons I've already come up with. Frankly, given my utter disinterest in love, I am frustrated for him, but also don't care that much. Although, if this flirting with the Countess keeps his visits up, I welcome it. I want to see more to know whether to try and get him to work with me. Oh, and of course, if I can, then convincing the Countess will be even easier. It is annoying that I have been working for her for 5 years, and that I think that we're friends. And yet, if a handsome man who she likes, or even loves, were to tell her what I want to tell her, then she would understand it more easily. I need to try and be less bitter, I think. Maybe one day I will change my mind about this all. This is what my mother said the last time I saw her. I disagree completely. Besides, why would I have any time to be sentimental when our moon is dying? When I was helping Lilian, plaiting her hair so that she could sleep without strangling herself with it, why she has to keep it so long I don't understand, I asked her whether she would invite Kieran over once more. She giggled, a sound I've never before heard her make, and said, "Maybe, perhaps. He is very amusing, isn't he? So different from the Duke." I think that I mildly agreed, although it was hard to focus on her. Usually doing her hair only requires about 40% of my attention, but since my vision has been nearly drained, I find that now I need to force myself more. Maybe around 70%, something along those lines. Lilian actually has now noticed that I seem a bit off and offered for me to take one of her ships to go see my family for a week or so and rest. And I am tempted to take her offer. I am hitting more dead ends each day, and obviously I need to be maintained a bit. I think that I will spend tonight pondering over the pros and cons of leaving for a week. Pros. I could replace any parts on my arm and in my head which have been used far too much to be fixed. I could fix those that can be fixed. I could implement whatever new things I can come up with, given all the junk I've gathered here at the estate. I have at least 7 new hard drives to give myself more space to save important information. Also, from one of the ships which Lilian refuses to use because it is out of fashion, I think that I could potentially attach a small flamethrower into my arm. If I am careful, I would obviously need to build it so that it stays completely hidden inside, and then I could take it out in a time of need. And I probably need to rework several pairs of gloves to be fire resistant. Oh, overall, my wardrobe is also in need of upkeep. I've just about managed to keep it together through what I have here for stitching and all, but nothing compares to what my father can do back home. And well, the most important pro of me going away for a week is the recharge. Practically, as I can feel myself running out of energy, and someday my arm will simply stop working and I'll be stuck with vision only in my human eye. But also, I hate to say it, and I hate to say it for it makes me sound like my mother, I need to mentally rest as well. I work too much and think too much about the potential end of life on Illyria. Perhaps I need to be distracted. Now for the cons. If I leave, Lilian is left to the vultures that are her uncle and his friend. The other servants don't have strong feelings, and perhaps I could try to threaten a few of them a bit so that they'd look after her more, but I don't know how effective that would be. Also, it might blow my disguise away if they realize that I am more than what they assume. Using Malbot is out of the question for now. My prank with the sirs has been working, I think, so I need to keep letting all that happen. Since I forgot to record it down last time, what we are doing is feeding it love letters supposedly from the Countess to see how it reacts to them. At first, it didn't work at all, but the last time I sneaked into its room, I found the letters neatly stashed into one of its lockers. Perhaps some sentimentality has been programmed into the robot. If this is true, then maybe the late Will also had a friendship with it. It might be biased due to mine and Lillian's own sadness, but I do think that the robot was cheerier when he had been alive. Well, Malbot is better left untouched for now so that the experiment on him can continue. My biggest worry and con for leaving is of course the potential revisit of Kieran. Not specifically because of him, but because of how close he is to being let inside the Love Knot greenhouse. Lilian told him about it today. She still thinks that I cannot hear if she whispers, which is good. I think that she was attempting to flirt more. Well, the vine is named rather meaningfully, but Kieran was clearly interested in it due to its healing abilities. Now, Lilian refused him entry, given its fragility and importance, but I can tell that she is doing so as part of their game. I guess she wants to be further wooed by Kieran before she allows him to see the Love Knot vine. Of course, there is the possibility or even likelihood that I will not be allowed to follow Lilian and Kieran if they go into the greenhouse. But I can at least try to see how they enter, whether it is through a passcode, a key, or something else. I do hope that Lilian actually knows how to enter. Surely she has to. When Will was dying, she spent a very long time at his bedside. I can only hope that he told her everything there is to know. Could this include his hidden research? Oh, how did I not think about that before? I mean, I have not been able to discuss the Countess's brother with her. She strictly forbade me from bringing him up when I tried some weeks after his death, and because of how important my position here is, I haven't dared to try again. But Kieran, he might be my way to find out more. On their first meeting, he told the Countess that he had also lost a brother recently, and like her, he doesn't like talking about it to anyone. I think that I am onto something here, finally something to follow up on. Maybe there is some use for this ridiculous courtship drama after all. Well, I need to make a decision now. Let's see. There were 18 days between the two visits Kieran has made here. Since this last one went so well, I've no doubt that Lilian will invite Kieran here sooner than last time. Perhaps in 10 days or even less. She gets impatient when there is something she wants. But who knows if the greenhouse visit will be during their next meeting. Perhaps it will take to the one after, or even 2 more meetings. I wish there was a way that I could enter Lilian's brain. It would make everything so much easier. Well, for now at least, I cannot do that, so I can only hope that since she enjoys all the teasing and flirting and yearning, that she will wait. I will go home to the Green Gardeners, and once I return in full force, recharged, renewed, etc., I will get to working on getting Kieran to be my ally in all this. Oh, I will need my family's permission to tell him about us. I suppose I will spend the rest of this night and all of my journey there coming up with a compelling enough case to do so. Kieran would be the first person to know the truth about me in the 5 years I have been here.